Everybody ready? We'll call the council meeting back in order. This time we're going to move on to item number 12B, 16-007, ordinance amending ordinance number 2003-062, the Anderson County speed hump ordinance. This time I'll ask, could Mr. Harmon, would you mind explaining? You probably explain a little bit better than I can.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This ordinance would allow speed humps to be placed at 3 places on Carswell Drive. I believe that's in District 5.
Yes, sir.
In the Homeland Park area. The reason for this is because of public safety, health and welfare, and speeding in that particular area. That's precisely what the ordinance would allow for, is 3 speed humps on that street.
Put this form of a motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. Waters. Any discussion?
Yes. Real quick.
Oh, go ahead, Ms. Floyd.
I asked for speed bumps as well. In fact, I've been asking for them for a long time. And every time I do, they tell me that our code doesn't do the speed hump, and it's going to cost so much money and all that kind of stuff. And I've never been able to get it. So what's new now that we can all get speed bumps?
Can I answer that?
No, I'll
Okay, let him, because he don't know the answer to this, but we'll let him try.
I know the answer.
He don't know the history of this. What's going on? Go ahead.
I don't know the history of what you're speaking about, but I mean, I'll be glad to work with you on an ordinance if you'd like to.
No, thank you. I thank you for that. But no, it's Mr. Hopkins. Mr. Hopkins. Oh, there he is. Mr. Hopkins, could you come to the front, please, with the chairman's permission?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. We'll indulge you for a little bit. We'll indulge you for a little bit and let's just see how far this goes. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I've been coming to you for quite some time now, talking about speed bumps on Gentry Drive. You remember that? And you always told me that it couldn't be done, it wouldn't be done, it cost too much, or this and that. Are you familiar with the ordinance now? What has changed?
Well, the ordinance we were referring to, it was less about the cost, it was more about the rural nature of the road. Our rule is right now that it has to be an urban district as defined by South Carolina law.
It has to be what now?
An urban district, meaning the houses have to be close together, densely populated.
Okay, all right. Well, that does not apply to the road that I have been wanting to do this to. But if I have another road in District 2, would it apply then? This.
Mr. Harmon, answer that. I mean, does this change the old ordinance?
No, I don't. This does not change the entire ordinance. This is an amendment.
Meaning?
An amendment specific to the street in question.
Carswell Drive.
Carswell Drive.
Okay, so all I'm at that if I need this in one of my streets, could I get one as well?
Can I answer that question, Ms. Floyd?
Mr. Oh, respect.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll let you go ahead. Okay,
I'm sorry.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, but that's me doing that. Excuse me. You can't answer the question.
If you will come see me, I will certainly work with you to get that done,
okay,
if it can be done.
Okay, the only thing I'm trying to do here is to make sure that I can offer to my constituents what he can offer to his, and I haven't been able to do that in all of these years because there's always been something wrong. That's all.
Okay.
I'll come to you. Thank you.
Yeah, just very quickly. I don't understand. Why do we need an ordinance to do this?
Alan, can I answer that?
Well, I don't know, Mr. Dunn. Yeah, you go ahead.
My ordinance, I mean,
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Tom.
first of all, the way people expect us to be paying for it is the ordinance.
Right, right.
The ordinance says, our ordinance now defines how you can put where speed bumps goes. It refers back to South Carolina.
Correct.
State
Yeah.
law.
Mhm.
These people badly need a speed bump, so it was tailored to craft in this instance because of a blind spot, and these houses are very close and a hill and a blind spot of getting out into some stop signs. So they can't get in there and do it. To make it legal, we need to change the ordinance to people that can do this.
Okay, because I knew we had the ordinance, and you can't have it on a downhill, and you can't have it on a curve and all that, but you had to do this in order to, okay, I got it.
But,
Mr. Allen's got the floor. Mr. Floyd.
excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Allen.
I will yield to the distinguished council lady to my right.
You are so sweet. You just as distinguished. Don't go away yet, Mr. The same things is going on my street. I had a blind spot around that corner getting out to Highway 29. That was a blind spot there because you couldn't see around the streets. You couldn't see around the down the street when those cars came up. But it's just that, I just saw, I was flabbergasted when I saw it because I have tried for a long time, even before we put the lights there, to do that. And I still don't understand. I really don't understand, I still need to come to you so you can explain to me how will anybody be able to get one now? Not just whatever street this is, but will anybody be able to get one? Will it?
We'll have to look at the specific facts of it, but I'll certainly be glad to meet with you and talk with you about it.
Me this time?
Pardon me?
Me this time? Okay, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Anyone else? Right.
I will say about 3 years ago, I did have one or two roads that wanted speed bumps, and District 1 was not allowed to have speed bumps due to the fact that the state law precluded them for reason X, Y, Z, ABC. So I reckon it's no longer a problem with me, but I think we need to have some clarification so that we'll all be on the same wavelength as to what we can do, but I support your thing.
Yes, sir, but I just want to explain.
Yeah.
These people said no too, okay?
Yeah.
That's the reason I went and looked and got Mr. Harmon to research this and to find out the ordinance on it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like this. I don't need some bureaucrat down in Columbia telling me where there's a speed bump it or not for the local citizens to make it safe for them to get by in Anderson County. That's the way I believe. That's who elected me, and I'm trying to work for the constituents of Anderson County, and that's the reason I've done this. I don't need no book from Columbia telling me what our speed limit should be neither, I don't think.
Okay, well, I agree with that, but unfortunately, we didn't have Mr. Harmon at that time, and Mr. Pitt sort of cut me off at the pass. We'll blame him since he's not there. But I'm supportive of what you want. I'm just saying that old saying, what's good for the goose.
And more power to it. Like I said, I just didn't, when they told me no, I moved on.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Waters.
I've had a couple of questions. Some people want to put potholes for speed bumps. Could we put some potholes in some roads for speed bumps?
Might be easier for them to move on the right road, and you already have some.
Don't need an ordinance for that.
How you go, Ms. Wilson?
According to the paper, we don't have any, according to the drivers and that drive through here. The truck
Chairman?
driver.
Yes, ma'am.
Another question. What did your group say about this? Mr. Hopkins, yeah, thank you. What did the transportation people, say about this?
Based on the ordinance, they did not recommend this.
Oh, they don't recommend it? Why?
The speed was 9 miles an hour over the speed limit, which in most standards shows that there's not a speeding problem. The rule or the urban district definition by state law is houses have to be within 100 feet of each other for a quarter mile, and that didn't apply here.
It didn't, or
It
did?
did not.
Did not apply, okay.
And there was one part of the road that is troublesome because of the hills and the dips and the stuff. But we, in this ordinance, we did pull it away from the hills. Where it's outlined in this ordinance, putting them is far enough. I mean, one's at the very bottom of the hill, so they'll have to be slowing down going down the hill before they get to it. Where one of the residents was wanting us to put it was right at the top of the hill, and if they hit it, they'd just get airborne even faster. So at least they're spaced out to where, in our opinion, is the safest place to put them.
Thank you.
All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Cole, Mr. Browder, Ms. Wilson in favor, Ms. Floyd against. Moving on. Item number 13, memorandum of understanding between USMC and Anderson County Airport. Mr. Burns, you got anything? Or Mr. Harmon?
Mr. Chairman and members of council, we have received the Anderson County Regional Airport has received a request from the United States Marine Corps to enter into a memorandum of understanding regarding certain training exercises that would be conducted out at the airport. We are still in the process of resolving a couple of matters in this particular memorandum. I wanted you to get so that you would know about it. For example, the Anderson County Airport would be changed to the Anderson Regional Airport, which is the current name for the airport. There are a couple of other matters, one being with regard to non-disclosure, that we would add a clause in there that except as may be required by the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act, we would keep matters confidential or items confidential. There may be some documents, though, that would be generated as a result of this that we may have to disclose under the Freedom of Information Act, and that's a suggested change to this document. And there are a couple of items that were left blank. But I wanted to get this matter before you so you could see it and begin to think about it.
Thanks. This is all information tonight, right? Is that correct?
Yes, until we get the document in final form, and then we will bring the document to you in final form.
Thank you, Mr. Harmon. Moving on, item number 14, report from the Planning and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning and Public Works Committee met on February 19th and on the 24th to review comprehensive plan updates of Americans with Disability Act updates, grant updates, and the Chapter 70 Code of Ordinances overview. At our February 19th meeting, we read through and discussed most of the material that was presented. The ADA measure was up for second reading tonight. Mr. Foreman announced that the Unique Places Inventory and Assessment Grant was already awarded to Alta. The information that Alta will gather will be incorporated into the county comp plan and will provide valuable data for development planning. The Priority Investment Act of 2007 amended South Carolina's Local Government Comprehensive Planning Enabling Act, which is South Carolina Code Section 629, to add two new elements: the transportation and priority investment to local comprehensive plans. This act also requires local governments to analyze regulatory and incentive structures pertaining to housing. Our committee studied and discussed the housing resource section, requesting that our language in this chapter be made to encourage more redevelopment and expanded use of existing neighborhoods, particularly our old mill villages where lawlessness and the difficulties for some individual homeowners to maintain their homes have contributed to rundown communities. These neighborhoods, for the most part, already have access to transportation, water, sewer, and most needed services. Many of these homes are solidly built. Some may qualify for demolition or funds to rehabilitate. Greenville and Columbia have had great success in rebuilding these once beautiful old neighborhoods and thus adding more affordable home options while being good stewards of public resources. It was acknowledged that the greatest obstacle for prospective buyers to buy into our readily available affordable housing remains obtaining financing due in part to the fallout of the Great Recession. Other issues that can be successfully addressed by the private sector is financial education and coaching our citizens on how to manage their money. There also needs to be a list of resources for home repair, such as AIM and the South Carolina Housing Authority, etc. Our county has a good inventory of homes in most neighborhoods. Pricing ranges run from very low to very high. And looking through the priority investment element list, it was noted that the county anticipates a large financial burden for repairs and replacements for years to come. Our list runs the gamut of much-needed dam repairs at Broadway Lake, to many roofs, heating and cooling units, replacements, and to maintenance and upgrades to parks, etc. Chapter 70 was reviewed and discussed with our requesting of our planning staff some clarifying language and greater attention to setbacks and buffer yards where low-density residential or agricultural uses abut industrial, commercial, or high-density development. At our February 24th meeting, we discussed and sought a better understanding of all of this material. As we lacked a quorum, no votes were taken. You have in your packet all of this information that we've reviewed. Mr. Foreman will be presenting these elements to the Planning Commission, which will hold a public hearing next week before it comes back to County Council for adoption. And I think what we had in our packet was the dark green, and what we had in our meeting actually copied as a redaction. It was so dark, you couldn't see the changes that were being recommended. So we've asked that we represented that information, maybe with pale yellow, so you can highlight it and see specifically the recommended changes, and we'll have that hopefully very shortly. And that was all for our meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody who participated.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Mr. Crowder?
I did read this voluminous thing, believe it or not, and I'm glad you indicated that thing about the highlighting, because quite frankly, I lost synchronization with what was going on, to put it lightly, because all of a sudden it deleted the planning commission, and it deleted the advisory committee, and it deleted crawl spaces, and it deleted, and it left 5-foot setbacks, which I personally am opposed to in the backyards. But anyway, so I think really what I need to do, what would you recommend? Just wait until they get us the original and then read it at that time, or try to meet with them and clarify to make sure?
I think they're on the same page ahead that way. And you're
I know.
You're more than welcome to put some input from Ms. Wilson's committee. It's going to Planning Commission, but I think they're on the right.
Oh, yeah, I don't question that. I just could, when I read it, what happened?
Those were very carefully discussed. Some of the language was not real clear to those of us who are not contractors. So we've requested clarifying language, and we were also concerned about the 5-foot setbacks, because if you have even 5 feet from one building to their lot line and the same in the other, you can't get emergency vehicles through. If you have a building and then you've got it 5 feet from their property line, and then the next property over only has 5 feet from the building, those were some issues that concerned us, and we asked for some review of that.
Now, keep in mind, I won't name the subdivision, but we had a really big problem of finger pointing about the 5-foot setback off of cobblestone. And the problem was, by having just that, you couldn't get any kind of truck to the back of the house to repair nothing because there wasn't enough space. So, anyway, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We move on to item number 15, report from the Finance Committee. Mr.
All right.
Chairman?
Yes, sir. I'll try to make it quick. Thank you, Chairman. The first item is a bid for replacement of the people who will do the audit services. The Finance Committee recommended that we appoint Green, Feeney, and Horton, and Mr. Carroll is here to discuss any questions you might have.
Okay, coming to the Finance Committee, it doesn't need a second. We have a motion from the Finance Committee. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands.
That was quick.
All opposed?
Sorry.
So the motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on, Mr. Chairman.
All right, sir. The next item is evaluation. Well, that's I'll be here in a minute. We received a supplemental award to our LMPG project award. They had previously given us some money, and now they want to give us some more money. Mr. Rusty Burns and Ms. Rita Davis. The Finance Committee recommended approval.
We have recommended, coming to the Finance Committee, doesn't need a second. Are there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands.
Wow.
All opposed? All abstentions? How you vote, Ms. Abstains? Ms. Floyd abstains. Mr. Waters in favor, Mr. Allen in favor, Mr. Dunn in favor, Mr. Cole in favor, Ms. Wilson in favor, Mr. Crowder in favor, Ms. Floyd abstains. Moving on.
All right, so the next item is actually the workers' comp resolution 2016-005. The Finance Committee recommended moving this item to council. Mrs. Davis.
Yes, sir. Captain Matthew Littleton requested that the Volunteer Rescue CERT teams, which stands for Community Emergency Response Teams, and the Mounted Search and Rescue members be covered under our workers' compensation policy. The cost would be less than $1,000 to the county, and it would give them peace of mind in case someone got hurt when they were assisting the sheriff's office if an incident occurred.
Okay, we have a motion from the Finance Committee. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed? You voting for it, Ms. Floyd?
I am.
All unanimous. Moving on, Mr. Crowder.
All right, thank you, Chairman. We requested that Finance give us a review of the assessment and the taxes that we're looking at for the proposed current year and for the proposed budget for next year that somebody will be working on shortly to develop for fiscal year 17. You'll notice the very first page is classification of property, Anderson County. You will see it's broken down into, on the left-hand column, the various categories of tax assessments for the kind of property, like real property 4%, real property 6%, agriculture 4%, blah, 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 all the way through. And you'll see that where in general the amount of our assessed value is going up, which is a good thing because obviously that generates revenue, which can be used. So the key is the assessed value is going up. The second page is the fiscal year 2016 property taxes, where we then take the summary of the different categories: current, delinquent vehicle, fee in lieu of services of taxes, and total for 2016. And you take a look that we're running currently about $4,182,897 behind in the collection of taxes. Now, some of those taxes will change their flavor shortly after March 15th due to the fact you don't become delinquent until March 15th. But it does show that we are collecting taxes at a lower rate. You will notice as compared to the FY 2015 taxes broken up in the same categories based on the same time period. So we're looking at time period A, time period B, so we can take a look. And then at the end, you can look at the differences. Now, that is only being presented to you all for information. We don't vote on anything. It's to allow you to see trends so that when we go to the bargaining table as to what's going to put in the fiscal year budget for next year, we'll at least have some idea, keeping in mind not that we're trying to copy the state, but the state normally has an agency that forecasts revenue, and then they give that to the House Ways and Means Committee, and the House Ways and Means Committee then bases its budget upon the inflow of new money, where they can add something to this, that, or the other. So after the 15th, we'll be wanting to have an update on this, so we'll kind of know a little bit better where we are, so that when Mr. Burns, he's already busy getting the budgets together, and he'll be putting the axe to the things that he feels like needs to be brought in line, and then they'll be then brought to others. Moving on to the next item, we had some transfers, and you will see, you can review those for yourself. The Finance Committee recommends approval of these transfers. And if you have any questions, we'll ask Rita to come back up.
Could I have a motion from the Finance Committee? Doesn't need a second on budget transfers. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Rita? Rita, I need to get with you, okay? Because I went through my book. I had sinus problems last week, so I didn't call you. But Rita, I need you to explain to me, what is this? Okay, so can we get together, please? I'm sure that some of my colleagues don't understand it either, but they wouldn't dare say that. But anyway, would you please meet with me sometime next week?
Anytime, ma'am.
And let's go over this. Okay, how is your schedule for Friday of this week?
Wide open.
Okay, well, may I come Friday?
Yes, ma'am, anytime.
Great, good, I'll be there. Thank you.
Chairman, that concludes the activity of the Finance Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're going to vote on that. Anybody got more discussion on the budget transfers? All in favor of the budget transfers, show of hands. All opposed? All abstentions? Mm-hmm. Wasn't nothing to vote on, ma'am. Just took it for information. We voting on the budget transfers now. You for it or against it? Or abstaining?
I will abstain.
In favor, Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Cole, Mr. Crowder, and Ms. Wilson, and abstains Ms. Floyd. Moving on, number 16, appointment. Mr. Waters, District 6.
I do. I have one. I'd like to replace one on the zoning board, Ed Ballard from Piedmont, and he'll be replacing Leroy Walls from Powdersville, and I bring that in the form of a motion.
Have a second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Cole. Any discussion? All in favor, Mr. Waters, motion, show of hands. Opposed, like sign, so the motion carries nationally. Anything else, Mr. Waters?
That's it. Thank you.
Anybody else got any appointments? I didn't see none, just want to double check, okay? Moving on, request for council members. Mr. Waters?
Yeah, I was just looking at one here. We got a letter from the gentleman that's going to be out at the Civic Center. It was in the form of a letter, but he didn't fill out the paperwork, so.
You want to bring that up?
Well, can we do that?
Yeah, you sure can.
It's the drill team, and can I appropriate some money for that?
Yeah, would you bring that up, just bring it up for everybody?
I'd like to bring this in the form of a motion, and I'd like to appropriate $500 for the Upstate Regional Drill Championship.
This one at the Civic Center and a bunch of schools
that'll be this
involved,
weekend. Right.
Okay. Second, Ms. Wilson, any further discussion?
Yes, did he apply last year?
I know they did it, but I don't remember if he applied last year or not.
Well, no, that's what I'm concerned about. Is his paperwork on file already?
Okay. Well, would it be easier to
That's good. Anybody else got anything on discussion on that topic? All in favor, Mr. Waters' motion, show of hands. All opposed, like signs. The motion carries unanimously. Anything else, Mr. Waters?
That's all, thank you.
I think you got one more, don't you?
I didn't see one.
Number D.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about that one. Yeah, I'd like to appropriate, or I think it's a transfer, is that not correct?
That's
right. $750, I apologize, I forgot about that one.
So now you recount to the finance department. Have a second? Second, Ms. Wilson. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Why is it going to the finance department?
It's an appropriation to, to make payment for some things over at the Civic Center.
Oh, okay.
All in favor of the motion, show hands. All opposed, all abstentions. So the motion carries. Mr. Waters, Mr. Allen, Mr. Dunn, Mr. Cole. You in favor?
Yes.
So that motion carries unanimously. Moving on to Mr. Allen.
Now, if we're going to go ahead and do the drill meet tonight, I'd like to do 300 out of my rec fund for the drill meet.
Okay, I have a second. Second, Ms. Wilson. Further discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like signs. So the motion carries unanimously. Moving on, Ms. Floyd.
I don't have any.
Mr. Cole.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to give $200 to the drill meet and $250 to District 1 and 2 for the media
Center.
broadcasting department.
Have a motion, we have a second. Second, Ms. Wilson. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like signs. So the motion carries unanimously. Before we go any further, I do just want to because I know they called directly and asked today, the Career Center 1 and 2 did, about money going to be appropriated. I think they're running that going on that thing, so I just want to make sure everybody does know what does come up.
Can I go back and appropriate some money for that?
Can.
I'd like to appropriate $500 from District 6 recreation account for that.
Have a second. Second, Ms. Wilson, any discussion?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
What are you talking about now?
Talking about this item right here on item number C, 17C, Anderson Districts 1 and 2, Technical Center, Career Center, all council members. They've asked for money from all council members. I just reminded them.
Oh, because Cole did it.
He did, and they called today and asked was they going to get any money? So I just want to remind them. And I know that's in Mr. Waters' district. All in favor of the motion, show of hands. All opposed, like signs. So the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Crowder.
Well, Chairman,